Warning, the following episode contains spoilers for Jessica Jones Season 2, other Netflix Marvel shows, and possibly the movies too. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, please turn away and do not listen to this episode. Hello, I'm Henry.
And I'm Trey. And welcome to Marvelous, a Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast,
where we go through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in order of release, but not today, because it's a special episode about Jessica Jones Season 2.
Indeed it is. So, Henry, what are your thoughts on Season 2?
Okay. So, for people who've listened to this podcast before, you probably know that Season 1 of Jessica Jones is my favorite Marvel TV show out of all of them. And same thing with Trey.
Yep.
But this season did not hold up to the first one. It's completely different and doesn't have any, continuous path or story. It kind of just rambles around, and it's a bit disappointing after the first season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's bad per se, but it's definitely flawed, and I don't know, kind of directionless, so I don't think I'd call it good either.
Yeah.
But I like some things that happened in it.
Yeah, I mean, it has a bunch of characters that I really like. Jessica Jones is such a great character, and seeing her on screen is always fantastic. But after having such an amazing villain like Kilgrave the first season, nothing could really match up to that. Nothing could really hold up to how incredible Kilgrave was. So that's why I said disappointing before. It wasn't necessarily a bad season. It's just that Jessica Jones is my favorite Netflix show, and it was so good. And this one was just okay.
It was weird. It went on a way different path than we've seen before, and it was very character-driven, and the whole season was just like a bunch of different character things happening rather than an actual central villain and plot that we were following. So I guess I can understand why some people would like it, but I personally prefer, I guess, a central plot to actually be happening.
Me too, but I did really like the growth of some of the characters, but a stronger villain probably would have made this season so much better.
Yeah, I also like the growth of some of the characters. Most of the characters.
Yeah.
Minus one.
Are you talking about Trish?
Yes.
Trish's arc through this season was very weird because it dealt with her addiction, but also kind of threw in her inferiority complex with Jessica and how she wants to be a hero also. But it gets really weird and aggressive as her addiction plot continues. And it just feels kind of weird and forced just to make her a superhero for season 3, because that's a thing in the comics. It didn't feel good. And she was a bitch to Jessica.
I didn't think the superhero thing was forced. I definitely think that this season is pretty much, the theme of it seems to be everyone spiraling out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
But Trish is definitely the main person who's doing that. And it was kind of weird going from season 1 Trish, who seemed pretty stable, to season 2 Trish, who's very addiction driven and power hungry. And I don't know, I feel like it's a little off-putting and maybe not quite the same character, but sure, they do a realistic job of showing addiction with all of her choices, but God, it was so hard to watch, and oh my gosh, I hate her character right now so much.
Yeah.
She became the most self-obsessed, just ridiculous person at the expense of all of her friends and everyone else and everyone she cares about.
Though I do like that Malcolm called it earlier on when he noticed that they're both users and he didn't want them to use each other to fill the holes in their hearts. And then later on, Trish just totally uses him. Malcolm totally saw it coming.
Yeah, that's true, but unfortunately he went along with it anyways.
Because she's pretty.
Eh.
And he couldn't resist filling that hole in his heart with her. And he couldn't resist not doing drugs around her.
I actually thought it was funny how much they seemed to sexualize Malcolm this season.
Oh my God. Like, so many times.
I'm like, could you make him shirtless, like, anymore?
Yeah.
It's just funny because that didn't happen in season 1 at all. And then in this season, it's like, every episode, shirtless Malcolm. Look how hot he is.
Yeah, well, that's one way to segue into a topic I wanted to talk about for this season, which was that everything was way more forced and in your face than the first season in a bad way. All the themes of the season, like dealing with family and loss and trust issues, addictions, people being prejudiced towards superheroes and inferiority complexes, it was shoved in your face so hard. And season 1 was way more subtle and it was more believable and it made you care more about the problems that were going on. Like when Hogarth was dealing with her ALS stuff and she saw someone crippled walking down the street and falling and dropping all their groceries. And later on when Jessica is talking to her mom about family stuff and they see another family drive up in the car next to them. They kept forcing this imagery so hard. It just didn't feel well done. And it really took me out of the moment in any of those scenes. And with Malcolm, they were trying to have feminist ideals with him and talk about the objectification of women versus men. Because when Malcolm gets back from one of the times where he was objectified, he talks to Jessica about like, next time, can't you warn me that you're going to objectify me? And Jessica's like, we deal with it all the time and stuff like that. Like, it was so forced.
I do think it was awkward and it felt off, but I don't think I felt that it was as forced as you seem to be saying.
I don't think the Malcolm one's the worst by far. I think the Hogarth one was the worst, and it was kind of annoying to me.
I love Hogarth's storyline, though.
I think she has the best plot of the season.
Which is weird, because you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, like it came out of nowhere. Like when they showed that she was dying in like the first few episodes, I'm like, okay, this is a weird direction. I don't know why they're bringing this up. Like, what are they going to do with it? And then it just grew into such a great plot. And my only disappointment with it is that we didn't get to see the outcome of her setting up Inez and Shane killing each other. We don't know what happened. And we might not ever know.
We do know what happened.
Inez is presumably still alive, and she might mention that Hogarth gave her the gun. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't think they're ever going to acknowledge it.
I agree. It was just pretty heavily insinuated. Inez killed him, and she's now going to be rotting in jail.
Yeah, which was clever. And when Hogarth got the gun, I had no idea what she was going to do. She's on death's door, sort of, even though she's not going to die for a long time. And as soon as she got in the car with Inez, I'm like, oh, I know what's about to happen. And it felt like some of the best writing in the whole show. Quick side note, it's really sad that Stephen Hawking just died, since he's a person who survived way longer than anyone expected him to with ALS. And Hogarth was going through a plot line about ALS. So it was kind of sad timing that that's when he died.
I honestly have no idea what ALS is.
Well, look at Stephen Hawking, how he can barely move his body. Your body just like decays.
Okay. That was something I found a little odd about the show, because it seemed like they were doing this as like an ALS awareness thing to show that it's an issue, but I didn't feel like they really explained what it is to actually make me aware of it, to be honest.
I don't know if they were. I think they just wanted to show Hogarth having a disease that would slowly kill her, but not be apparent for a while.
Fair enough.
And cancer's overdone.
True. It definitely was heartbreaking to see her go to such a low place and come so close to losing her life, her job, everything that pretty much made her the powerful woman that she was. And seeing her in a place that low where she couldn't be there for herself, let alone anyone else. And then these two terrible human beings come in. Like, how low of a human do you have to be to con someone who's at that such a low point of their life, give them false hope, dangle it in front of them, yank it away, crumble everything, and then rob them of everything they have as well. I'm so glad that she got revenge on them.
Yeah. That's also one of the twists that I didn't see coming When they mentioned that Shane's a healer, I'm like, okay, that seems really far-fetched. Healing is a really dangerous place to go to in a comic universe. But when it turned out his abilities were fake, I'm like, ooh, you tricked me. And that was like the one thing I would have wanted to be tricked about. Nice. I was totally caught off guard, and I'm happy that the healer was the one that was fake.
Yeah, I agree. And I just really like this whole like way that she gets justice and kind of climbs back into her power, I guess, as a woman.
Yeah, she's just intimidating and powerful and awesome. Especially because she didn't only deal with Inez and Shane, she also dealt with the other partners of her law firm and started her own. And just totally took back her life and totally is on top of everything now.
Yep.
Back and stronger than ever.
Going back to touch on Malcolm for a minute, I just wanted to finish his storyline. I feel like he also has some interesting growth through the season because when the season starts, he's in the same place we saw him last season where he's just essentially Jessica's bitch.
You're not wrong.
And it's fun to see her fire him every day and him to just keep showing up because he believes in her and the work, but it's also sad.
Their dynamic is great to watch. But yeah, like you said, sad in reality.
Yeah, and I love how idealistic Malcolm is and how much he holds Jessica on this pedestal of hope for like what he believes she can be and what they can be together. And I think if they could actually achieve that, it would be great. But in Jessica's current place, I'm really glad that throughout the season, he gets out from under her and out from under Trish. And he actually starts to become his own person with his own, well, it's not his own business, but he becomes his own man and he actually gets like a real job elsewhere.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about that is that similar to Daredevil, with Foggy leaving Matt Murdock's side, we don't get to see him as much. And then every conversation where they do meet, there's so much weight behind it. It just bums me out a little bit that we won't have the lighthearted scenes between Jessica and Malcolm anymore.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like in season 3, they have to reconcile.
I hope so. I assume Malcolm's not going to move.
Yeah, and I definitely love their relationship and their dynamic. And hopefully once Jessica starts letting other people in, her and Malcolm will become closer and actually become better for it. Hopefully.
Yeah, and we saw with the end of the season that Jessica opening herself up to Oscar a ton is her beginning to open herself up to others more than ever.
Yeah, and that was a big arc for Jessica this season through... I mean, you see it earlier in the season when she starts hanging out with Oscar, I guess, because you can tell that she's trying really hard to be sensitive and be nice to him, even though, like, normally she'd just be like, fuck off. And I think through her time with her mother, she grows as a person. She realizes she hasn't been living. She opens herself up more to being a hero, too, through conversations with her mom and them saving that family on the road. And then by the end, she feels like she's able to create a whole new life for herself out of her trauma.
Yeah, though that family on the road was the one that they forced in earlier to be a reference to family, and it was like the same accident as when Jessica and her family got in a car crash leading to her family dying.
Absolutely.
If only there was a hero there to save them that time.
I'm absolutely not denying that it was forced and weird. I'm just saying that it's very clear that they had Jessica grow through that. Like, they had to force something in to create this growth in Jessica as a character, and that was how they chose to do it.
I just wish they did it better.
Yeah, I feel like we should talk about the plot overall anyway.
We should. We probably should mention Alyssa a little bit.
And yeah, and just like going through the whole season, because I feel like the first, 3 to 4 episodes are almost entirely pointless and could have been cut down to 1 or 2.
Well, the first 3 or 4 episodes are Trish trying to push Jessica to find out more about her past, and Jessica having her past come back to haunt her in the form of IGH, the company that made her, interacting with her life through other patients of IGH, like the Wizard, who can run extra fast or power walk extra fast when he's scared. I don't know. That was weird.
Yes. Though on top of that, there's also Trish and her fiance, who absolutely serves no purpose except that their breakup, I guess, started Trish onto being more addicted to drugs.
Yeah, except I feel like that was a great moment of self-discovery for her. She realized she didn't love Griffin for who he was. She idolized him and wanted to be like him. And I would have hoped that that would have given her more motivation to reach for her own goals. But instead of that, she becomes super depressed and drug addicted and crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not what I would have expected from Trish. I would have expected her to obviously be heartbroken because she just broke up with someone who she loved greatly, as shown earlier in the season. But to go down this dark path was crazy.
I agree. I think that the season before that set her up to become better, but instead she just became worse and worse and worse. And I don't really know why that was warranted, but we also get all those scenes with Asian PI dude. What's his name?
Price Chang.
Price Chang being hired by Jerry to go after Jessica, and Jessica assaults him, and they have the legal thing. All of this stuff, which really doesn't seem to matter at all.
Yeah, and he keeps popping in and out and in and out. And I think maybe he's there because one of the themes of this season is prejudice of the average person against heroes. And he was super anti-Jessica because she was a hero and had unnatural strength, which is funny because that's like one of the villains in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Wasn't he not anti-Jessica, though? Because he wanted to hire her. He wanted to use her.
He wanted to get her off his turf, however he had to.
I guess because he wanted to hire her, it's just hard for me to say, like, he is against her.
He wanted to control her.
Yes.
And I guess he hated her because of powers. I don't know. It got really confusing towards the end when he was pretty chill with Malcolm at the end of the season and how he wasn't actually hunting Jessica down. He was hunting down Alyssa, which was reasonable since Alyssa murdered the hell out of his partner.
Yeah, but him deciding to just take a gun and shoot her through the window, I was like, really? You don't call the police and, I don't know, warn them that a serial killer is on the loose in Jessica's apartment? You just immediately take out a gun and try to shoot her yourself? And then one other thing that felt shoehorned in was the manufactured conflict with Oscar, the new super, who they made immediately hate her upon finding out she has powers, and then the police come, and he's like really out to get her to the point that he almost evicts her, but then his son goes into her room and she saves him from falling out the window. So there's a complete 180, and all of a sudden he's super happy with her, and then they're in love, and they become boyfriend and girlfriend, which just felt really off.
It was strange, and again, it felt like they were really forcing the family stuff, and they were really forcing the people being afraid of superhero stuff. Though they did introduce ideas that superpowered individuals aren't that rare in this world anymore. It's not just the Avengers. There are random powered people all over, which is definitely something they have in S.H.I.E.L.D. But S.H.I.E.L.D. hardly connects to the movies anymore. And although the Netflix shows don't either, they seem like more of a part of the MCU movies. So seeing that these shows talk about it seems a little more interesting. Like how they're calling powered people supers, like The Incredibles and stuff like that. I like that, and I wish we got to hear more about it.
Yeah, I do think it was an interesting look into that as well. I think the last thing that the first 3 episodes are meant to do is set up the villain as well, which worked really well in season 1 for Kilgrave, for like a very evil, imposing figure who deserves that build up, but for Tarzan Mom, who doesn't really stay the villain for very long,
That's the perfect way to describe it.
It is.
You just that's great. That's great.
It just really doesn't do anything for her because she doesn't need the build up. She's not really that much of a villain, and they try to like build her up like this beast. They even have Simpson talk about how she's not human. She's like beastly, but she's human.
Speaking of which, you didn't talk much about Simpson, which is another weird like throwaway character they added to this season.
Which is literally why I was just bringing him up, because I want to talk about him.
Yeah.
It just seemed really weird that they would go through the trouble of making him such a bad guy in season 1 and then save him after that. Like he was going to have a much bigger role as either a villain or another conflicting force or just be important in some other way. But then you see him really quickly. He's saving Trish. He's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point of that was at all. They didn't need him for that.
They needed him to give Trish the inhaler.
Which they literally could have done in season 1, to be honest.
I know. But
yeah, so that was weird.
I'm still not really sure why Alyssa was going after Whizzer. Like, I understand that she went after Trish because Trish was trying to uncover IGH, and that would have led to her and Carl being discovered and arrested. But what did the Whizzer have to do with it? I guess he was trying to get through to Trish, but is that really enough?
I think that's what it was, because he was posting all that fan mail and like trying to tell her about IGH, and she kept saying, Trish is the reason I killed everybody. She had to come after us. I had to destroy. I don't really know why she had to kill anyone.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I don't understand the point of it. Like you were saying, they were trying to have a really slow, menacing buildup like Kilgrave. And in that long run, it just ended up with Tarzan Mom, who all those previous murders didn't really serve any purpose other than to make her unsavable. Like she had to be arrested after all those murders.
Yeah.
So that's it. They just made her a villain, but she wasn't actually that bad. She was just someone suffering mental illness with superpowers. Because with great powers come great mental illness, which was actually a very clever spin on the quote.
Yes, though it made me wonder how she would know that quote, because she would have to watch Spider-Man for that to happen.
Yeah. I was going to mention that. It's funny when the Whizzer says that, because he's not actually referencing that quote. But later in the season, Jessica Jones says, if you say with great power comes great responsibility, I'm going to throw up to her mom. And that line is only famous because of Spider-Man. And Spider-Man never said that in Homecoming. This isn't a quote in the MCU, so why did she say that?
I mean, she wouldn't know if Spider-Man said it anyway. If Spider-Man had said it in Homecoming, she wouldn't have known that, because that would have been his life, not a movie that she has watched.
I know. I'm just saying they didn't even use that line in that movie. That isn't a line from the MCU until now, I guess.
Yeah. So it's definitely an odd reference to have here.
Yeah, there are quite a few references in this season. Like, they talked about Cap. Like, actually had Captain America and an action figure, which is cool, because in some of the other Netflix shows, they only vaguely talked about the Avengers, like the big green guy.
Yeah.
They also talked about the Raft, which is in Civil War, which is a superpowered person prison, which I feel like has to have a whole ton of people in there now, which would be an interesting plot point to explore in a future MCU movie. Like, now's not a good time with Infinity War being about to happen, but it would have been interesting if, after Captain America and his group of heroes escaped from the Raft, if they also let out a villain on accident.
Honestly, the whole time she was talking about how the Raft would be the place to send her and how it would isolate her forever, and it's like built for people with superpowers so they can't get out, all I could think of was how Captain America just, as a dude, was able to go in there and bust everyone out of this super-powered prison.
Well, there's a difference between being a prisoner and breaking out, and breaking into a prison from the outside and freeing prisoners.
I agree.
It is true that Captain America made it seem really easy, but that is my only response to that.
I agree, but it doesn't seem that secure to be after that.
Yeah. Quickly, I wanted to reference two other references they had in this season, which were, well, one cameo, which were to the other Marvel Netflix TV shows. They had a Foggy cameo, Foggy from Daredevil, talking to Hogarth, during one of the scenes when Hogarth is pushing everyone away. It's perfect because Foggy has really experienced firsthand someone pushing everyone away with Matt Murdock. And they also mentioned the Rand Corporation. Quick side note, Claire Temple wasn't in this season either.
Yeah, I think Turk is the new Claire.
Ooh.
But yeah, so Turk was another cameo that was cool to see because he's another show crosser.
And he was always fun. I love his personality.
Yeah, it's funny. After his first appearance, when he was like a bit of a threat in the first season of Daredevil, they just started making him a joke in every show after that, and now I enjoy him.
Yeah.
But just to finish talking about the plot structure of the season, the first 4 episodes didn't really grab me that much. Then I started getting more interested in episode 5 and 6 when the Powered Girl starts getting shown, aka her mom, but we didn't know it was her mom yet. And then there's the mom reveal at the end of episode 6, which Henry loved.
Oh, God. Please, just... The fact that they brought her back to life just so Jessica could deal with her mommy issues hurt my soul deeply. It didn't need to happen. It didn't feel good. I didn't like it.
I agree, but I did not mind the twist that she was alive. It was only what they did with her character that I didn't like. And everything about her character, pretty much, like, she felt really off as Jessica's mom. Their chemistry was weird, and something about pretty much everything about her, to be honest, her face, her stature, her wig, and their relationship I didn't like. And I really hated the whole emotional, like, oh, I just go into rages and kill people because I'm a crazy hormone monster. I really hated that.
Yeah. Honestly, there were some moments that I really liked how they interacted. It was interesting because her mom is a total, like, no holding punches, straight to the point kind of person, which is a lot like Jessica. And some of those moments felt good, but the twist just hurt. And I don't like that they brought her back. And I don't like brought back family members or brought back the life plots.
Yeah, it wasn't the twist that bothered me. But I agree. After this point, the show had my full attention, though, and to be honest, the rest of the season completely held my interest and kept me engaged, which I guess is surprising because I can't decipher my own feelings about it and if I like it or not, but it kept my interest the whole time, so that's something.
Yeah, there were highs and lows, but it was mostly just muddling around with feelings.
Yep.
So one character who we've hardly mentioned so far, who's pretty important, is Carl, who is the man who essentially created Jessica Jones and Alyssa, making them superpowered individuals, and is also now Alyssa's husband and lover. And their dynamic is really interesting and weird.
Weird.
Real weird.
Definitely.
He just like this hippie that fell in love with his science project.
Yep. He was weirdly attractive for an old guy, though.
Really?
Yeah, I'm usually not into old guys, but something about him, and with those red glasses, I'm like, what is happening?
I mean, I could say the same about Hogarth, but no, because it's not weird. She's just...
Hogarth is beautiful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, she was Trinity in The Matrix. She is a beautiful person. I don't know how old she is now, but I love seeing people who were fantastic at a certain role when they were young and another one when they were old, because it just feels cool to me.
Yeah, even though she has the exact same hair and demeanor and everything.
No, but the plot's different. She doesn't... Well, I guess now she has guns.
She doesn't use them.
She could have. No, yeah, that's good. She only had one anyways. Yeah. So Carl was very interesting. Also, the guy who ran and owned IGH died in the very beginning because Alyssa apparently killed him. So we never really got to learn his story, which would have possibly been interesting because he created this superhero program.
Why was he killed?
I don't know. I don't know why Alyssa killed anyone. To protect Carl, I guess.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that would have been interesting to get more on the actual company that made Jessica rather than just Tarzan mom and lover scientist freak.
Yeah, though I am glad that we have her origin of power story out of the way, because that's something that holds back every superhero story and they need to get through it. And now it's through. So Jessica Jones season 3 won't have to talk about it again. IGH is done for. We can move forward.
Yeah, because everybody is dead, literally.
Everyone relevant to the past, yep.
Yep. I also wanted to talk about the flashback episode because I really liked that one.
Hey, I like you, cray, cray.
Yeah, that one.
They had 2 lines on repeat. Couldn't they have come up with 2 more?
No, Henry. Don't you know how music works?
No, apparently not.
Someone makes up 2 lines and repeats them 8 million times, and that's a popular song.
Oh my god. I just love how young Trish is all drugged up and crazy and being like, I'm gonna be so famous because of this song. And it's literally the worst song.
It was a really interesting look at them, though, and what their life was like in the past. What was it supposed to be, like 5 years ago or something?
No, it was 5 years after the accident, because that's when Alyssa woke up the first time. So I think it was more like 10 or 12 years ago. Because Jessica constantly says the accident was 17 years ago. So if we say Alyssa has been awake for 5 years, then plus another year or so, I'll say 10 years.
How old is Jessica?
I guess like 32.
What?
I don't know.
That's so old.
Wait, I could totally look this up. Yeah, her age is 31 to 33, so I assume 33 in season 2.
I did not realize she was that old. Anyways, I really liked seeing Jessica in that flashback because it was a time where she was still bitter. She was still like Jessica, but she didn't seem like super traumatized and depressed and drinking her worries away. She seemed like a much more carefree and loving person, and you could see that with her boyfriend because she gave a lot more of herself to him and she was a lot happier. She was smiling. It was really nice seeing her like that.
Yeah, like pushing him to pursue his passions and saying that she loved him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I really hate that her mom took him from her.
I also really hate that Trish took her mom from her.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut back to that, but let's continue with the flashback episode.
I knew that Alyssa was going to kill him the second that she started looking for Jessica because it was the only thing big enough to stop her from staying in Jessica's life, but I still hated it.
Yeah. I didn't mind it that much, except I didn't like Alyssa's backstory at all and why she was gone and how they brought her back into the scene. It was just another part of an annoying sequence of how this happened.
Yeah, I didn't like the Alyssa stuff. I just loved seeing the glimpse into Jessica's past.
Yeah, for sure.
And the history behind Alias Investigations title.
Yeah, that was cool too.
Indeed.
It shows that the boyfriend left a huge mark on her life, even after he died.
Yeah.
She must have been suffering dealing with it for a while.
Yep.
But that reminds me that there are a few instances of people getting away with murder or hiding bodies in this season. Like Jessica and Trish just hiding Simpson's body. And Jessica getting away with killing that prison guard. And Hogarth indirectly murdering Shane. It just felt weird that all of our heroes were like murdering people and hiding bodies and getting away without any problems.
Yeah, it was also very glossed over when Jessica killed that prison guard. That seemed like that should have been a much bigger deal.
Yeah, like one of the themes of this entire season, which I forgot to mention before, was, is she a hero or is she a killer? And she killed someone, and then they just kind of kept going.
Yeah, I mean, it gave us Kilgrave for an episode.
Which was cool.
And at the end of which she, like, reclaimed herself and decided that she wasn't a killer and that she killed that guy didn't actually make her Kilgrave, I guess, was how she dealt with that and moved on.
I guess. I don't know. I was kind of hoping he was going to stick around for the rest of the season. But that would have been weird if Kilgrave was there while she was dealing with Alyssa. But Alyssa kind of helps her move past it. I don't know. I really wish that David Tennant wasn't billed on this season because I knew he was coming and it just wasn't as surprising when he showed up. I wish they kept that under the wraps more.
Yeah, I would agree. I personally hate when people come back as ghosts to act like your guilty conscience. Even though Kilgrave did it well, I'm glad that it only lasted an episode.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get flashbacks or like nightmares or something. So I definitely was caught off guard from them going this way, but I guess I should have seen it coming.
Yeah. Also, at the end, too, when Trish kills her mom and then Jessica takes the gun, so the detective thinks that Jessica did it. In other shows and movies and stuff, it's always such a big deal when someone who's not a policeman kills someone. And it's always treated terribly, like a crime. They have to go through a whole series of events of like, why shouldn't you be in jail right now? But I feel like Jessica just constantly gets off really easily. Like, it was understandable for Kilgrave because she's the only one who could stop him and everything that he did. But when she just shoots her mom and he's like, oh, it's fine. No, she just shot her mom. She was a danger. It's fine.
Also, the fact that like Jessica ran away from the police and they're like, no, it's fine. Like, she did it. She killed her mom. Jessica's fine now. Don't worry about it. It's like, what do you mean she's fine? They were so hard on keeping her in line before all this happened. And then after she escapes from them, they just don't care because she killed her mom. Maybe they just don't care because a cop was killed. So they're like, haha, she deserved it. Whatever. You're cool, Jessica.
Yeah, and in this same town, the policemen are super anti-vigilante when it comes to Daredevil, and like everything else outside the law is just bad. It's not supposed to happen, but it's just completely fine for Jessica to kill people that they're after.
Yeah, well, while we're on the topic of these cops, I did want to talk about Costa, because he was an interesting character, since he was one of the people that Kilgrave controlled in season 1, and really respected Jessica and really wanted a lot out of her. Like, he wanted her to be the hero that she could be.
Was he in season 1?
I don't know. He looks familiar. I like that someone acknowledged the previous season in a positive light. And his partner was just really annoying the entire time. And that was another thing that felt really forced.
Yeah, I agree. She really bothered me and I really liked him.
Yeah. I really liked her dynamic with Jessica. And I really liked that Jessica kept trusting him a lot. Like when Jessica discovered the location of her mom and Carl, she messaged Costa basically as soon as she got a chance.
Yeah.
Like, that takes a lot of trust.
Yes. Though when he comes to her and she's like, I'll come down to the station first thing in the morning to give you a statement, because he's like, I'm never trusting you again if you don't answer to this. And then we never see that. She never does that. I'm like, that's odd.
Another thing is the anger management that she's supposed to do. They only show it once.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that although Trish was the one that murdered Jessica's mom, they don't get Jessica in trouble for it, even though they think she's the one who did it. But the biggest arrest of the whole season was Jessica getting in trouble for hurting Price in the very beginning of the show.
Yeah.
She gets arrested and goes through all the motions. That's the only time when there's tons of murders in this season.
That's really sad.
It's just odd. And it was interesting how, like, Luke Cage, it ended with Luke getting sent to prison. But Jessica Jones, it ended with her forming, like, this really nice and sweet family life with Oscar and Vito, even though maybe she should have been arrested.
Speaking of which, I have no idea how she survived this long without Oscar, because she literally had no one to make those types of IDs or passports before. But in this season, she used him for everything.
He was way too convenient. Speaking of which, like, dude, you've only known her for like 2 weeks, and your whole big deal is, I don't want to get arrested so I can be there to take care of my son.
Yeah, his character changes and wanting to be in a relationship with her really make no sense.
It could have made more sense if more time had passed, but it definitely was only a few weeks tops.
Yeah.
One thing I thought that was really funny with their relationship was the first time they make love. It was in the paint. And that seems really gross to me.
Gross. That's an interesting way to put it.
Paint. Everywhere.
I wouldn't call it gross. I would call it inconvenient, but I feel like it's one of those things that they always do to be like artsy and it seems romantic.
Yeah, I thought because it was purple paint, they were going to like connect it to Kilgrave in some way, and then they never did.
I don't know.
I just remember being like, oh God, I would just move a little bit.
I really don't think they should have gotten together. But considering how attractive he is, I can't really blame Jessica for wanting it.
I liked his character a lot.
I liked his character too.
And I liked Vito, and I liked his little sub-story of him trying to keep Vito from his ex-wife who is trying to escape the country with him.
I completely agree. That's the exact reason why I don't think they should be together.
Oh, because Oscar deserves better?
She's literally everything he doesn't want his kid to be around.
But Vito likes her, and she's pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think about that.
He's very clearly just a character that they needed to have be her love interest so that she can open herself up. I feel like we should wrap this up. Do you have anything specific to say about Trish killing her mom?
I don't like it. I thought Trish's mom was really good in this season. And although she's a terrible person, I thought her scenes were really well done, for the most part. One thing that was weird was when Trish was in the hospital and unconscious, and Trish's mom temporarily grows attached to Jessica, and then flips on her in all the rest of the season. That felt a little uncalled for, because I was hoping that maybe she was going to be like, hey, maybe we should be a little bit closer. But no.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the point of that was.
That was the only part that didn't feel right to me with her.
Honestly, when Trish was trying to go kill herself to get powers, I was so annoyed that Jessica wouldn't just let it happen, because clearly she will alienate everyone in her life and destroy everyone's lives to get these powers. Let her fucking have them.
Yeah, which I guess she has super reflexes now. So she has like spider sense, but no strength.
I don't really know what her powers are, but I guess, yeah.
I haven't looked up her powers in the comics. I just know she's called like Black Cat or something.
I'm just glad we finally have it out of the way so she can just be Hellcat now and stop being so
Hellcat.
Annoying.
Yeah, I guess. I just kind of, after how annoying she was in this season, I don't want her in the next one unless she's maybe a villain. But I don't really want her as a villain either, because I just want someone cooler like Kilgrave again.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be a villain, but maybe she'll be an antagonist that somehow gets destroyed and can be redeemed. I don't know.
Maybe like Elektra in season 2 of Daredevil.
I hated Elektra.
I'm just saying, that kind of character arc.
Boo.
It might happen.
Yeah, whatever.
So I guess to wrap up our feelings on this season, there were good points, but the lack of structure and a good villain really made this show suffer.
To wrap up my feelings, Trish is awful.
Yes. And Hogarth is the best.
Jessica's the best.
Jessica's the best.
Hogarth is great.
But Hogarth's arc was great this season.
Yes. So if you want to find us on social media, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Marvelous MCU. You can find us on Instagram at Marvelous MCU Podcast. And you can send us an email at marvelousmcupodcast@gmail.com.
And wherever you listen to this podcast, please like, rate, subscribe, and leave a comment or review. Anything you can do to help spread the podcast is a huge help to us.
So thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us next time for the miraculous, the amazing Captain America Winter Soldier.